Hello, my name's Elijah, and welcome to my podcast, Songwriting for Songwriters. Joining me today, my special guests are Chloe and Lindsey from classic rock new band Brave Rival. Brave Rival are just about to release their second album, and they've been smashing audiences across the UK with their massively powerful, live, energetic, brilliant sound. I have to say this is one of my favourite conversations so far on Songwriting for Songwriters. Chloe and Lindsey really demonstrate the love of being in a band, the love for each other as songwriters, and it was an absolute joy to speak to them both. So I think you're really going to enjoy this episode, and if you're a Brave Rival fan, let me just tell you that they both said this was their favourite interview they've done so far. So stick around and enjoy the rest of this hour podcast. And also, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Check out the other episodes and follow me on Facebook, Songwriting for Songwriters, and on Instagram. And also, if you're a songwriter, if you're looking for some inspiration, if you'd like to start writing songs, you can find my book, The Songwriter's Handbook by Elijah Wolfe, on Amazon or on Kindle. There are 52 meditations, themes, subjects for you to think about. I ask you questions and you can respond and find a seed or spark within yourself for a new song. So please check that out, The Songwriter's Handbook by Elijah Wolfe. But now let's pass over to Chloe and Lindsey and I for a chat about songwriting. My guests today, Chloe and Lindsey from Brave Rival. Enjoy. Okay, today joining me on my podcast, Songwriting for Songwriters, is Chloe and Lindsey from Brave Rival. How are you both?
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
It's very early.
It's super
Not early.
It is early for musicians. It's a bit much. So thank you for coming on early. And I've got a raging hay fever, so sorry if my voice is a bit kind of that way inclined.
I was expecting you to say hangover, were you? I've got raging hay fever.
Raging hay fever, yeah, it's all rock and roll these days. Congratulations on all your recent success. It's amazing to see the bands kind of do so well and be everywhere, it seems, at the moment. How are you finding that current kind of moment for you?
It's awesome. It's just really nice to know that our hard work's paying off, because it's not just about making music that you're proud of. It's actually putting in the hours to spread that music around and build it as a business in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really, really happy to see it's paying off.
What's so refreshing to me is I grew up with classic rock, and Beatles, Stones, Fleetwood Mac, all those sort of big bands. And listening to you last night, that sound is, I mean, it's so rejuvenating, refreshing to hear that sound again and actually hear a band that can play and sing, which seems like it shouldn't be shocking that a band that can play and people that can sing is so refreshing. But that is what I felt like.
No, it shouldn't.
That should be like a natural thing, like it was back in the day. But actually, to hear a band play and sing that well is kind of, I think it is such a refreshing sound. Are you finding that from your audience members and fans that the desire for that kind of sound is back?
I do, yeah. I think there's this whole new wave of classic rock which has been penned that way, and we're kind of falling into that category more and more, I think, with our music.
Yeah.
Which is great, because I'm a huge classic rock fan. That's basically all I listen to. I listen to a few of the new stuff, the things are recommended, and I like it. But I am a classic. I like my classics, Planet Rock kind of thing, classic rock FM, and so it's really nice for our music to be kind of coming under that umbrella a little bit more, because we are a little bit blues, we're a little bit soul, we're a little bit more rock, we're going a bit more down the rocky edge. But I think our sound has a new classic rock sound, and I think that's really coming across.
And it's nice because the younger generation now as well, they love kind of retro. Even though it's quite depressing to say that we're retro.
You're not. I don't think that's true. My daughter's 19 and she absolutely loves the Beatles and Fleetwood Mac. So round about the time she was 13 or 14, like anyone I suppose who was of that age who was alternative started to kind of reject the kind of X Factor-esque kind of pop thing that they'd grown up with, and when actually the real music and the real scene or the real creativity was back from 90s and before, and they started to listen to those bands. So the need for that from them, maybe some of your fan base, is a very genuine desire to actually listen to people actually create good music. That's what I think part of it.
Love that. Thank God for that.
Thank God for that. Well, thank God for the mums and dads who played them good music. That's how it's happened.
That's the way. That's why we're the way we are, because of our parents. You know,
Exactly.
it filters down, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But also, I have to say that your sound. I mean, your sound doesn't sound like a impression or photocopy of that sound of classic rock. What it sounds to me like is, here are people who can sing and play, and they know what they're doing, and they're creating something which has got a classic rock element and blues and soul. But because they're creating, if you like, properly, then it sounds like a genuine new sound around that kind of area. It doesn't sound copied at all. It sounds like it's
That's
totally
great.
original, you know?
Hear that?
I think I love you.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
great.
let's get that out of the way. So this
It's
is all about.
exactly what we're going for.
Yeah, good. Well done. You've nailed it as far as I'm concerned, and I'm quite judgmental. So, in terms of the songwriting in the band, tell me how that works. How does that happen?
So I think a lot of bands tend to have a specific process, but with us it changes every time, which I think is why we have such a kind of new, fresh, kind of exciting sound.
Quite diverse, isn't it?
Because we all have really different influences.
Yeah.
And so if a song starts from one of us in particular, it will go like in a different way, and then once we all add our other flavors, it then gives the sound that we have. So for example, Lindsey, often the way that Lindsey tends to write is she'll even like sing like a bass line or sing a riff, and then come up with some lyrics, and then the melody will often follow later, really, wouldn't it?
Yes, it's usually that way around.
But you often come up with like the riff idea in your head. So
I'm quite riffy led. Yeah. I think if someone pulled apart our music, you might be able to tell who wrote what.
Yeah.
I like a riff song.
Yeah.
And you're quite for me melodic.
Yeah, more melodic. Yeah, but quite often, like Lindsey, myself and Donna, we live literally like 5 minutes apart. So Donna will come round for a cup of tea, and then she'll pick up the guitar, and we'll have written a song within an hour. Yeah, because we can't help ourselves.
It does flow out of you, like,
so it won't be
snot.
Yeah. Nice. But I find it hard to sit down and go, I am going to write a song today. For me, it comes, you know, if we're just casually having a cuppa, or if I'm driving in the car, I might just press my voice recorder on my phone and just sing any random stuff. Or quite often, if I'm in the bath, stuff might come out.
For me, it's more in the car as well. Yeah, because
when you're not
hear
thinking,
something on the radio,
it's subconscious. Then, isn't it?
Usually for me, it's I hear something on the radio and I'm like, I love that vibe. And then I turn the radio off and I just have a little think, and then I come up with some melody or a lyric or something, and then it will all kind of float, and then bring that to the rehearsal room. Yeah. And quite often I would say you tend to write more so with Ed. Not that this is a set thing, but Ed is quite obviously riff led, because he's the guitarist. So he'll send ideas, and then you will often write to those. Yeah, they do speak to me.
Or you'll write something and then listen to some of his ideas and go, oh, that will go with that. Whereas I often tend to write with Donna.
Okay.
Kind of acoustic-y. But then we can also be in the rehearsal room, ready to rehearse for general stuff, and Billy will start playing a riff. Yeah, and then Donna will start jamming, and then a whole song will be born.
Whole song came
like one of our songs, Sink or Swim, on the new album, was born that way. So it really does change. Sorry, it's quite a long answer.
No,
that's the truth. So
that's a really good answer, because it's like what it does sound like that. Actually, it sounds cohesive, but you can. As I was listening last night, I was thinking, with the idea that you might have multiple writers, it sounds like there is like multiple writers, but it's all kind of cohesive because the band are playing the songs. But that is a joy to hear different voices, like Fleetwood Mac or the Beatles. You can, you get that different kind of sound, don't you, from song to song, because there's different writers. And so that is,
that's what I love about Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Not only is it different writers, it's different singers as well. There was my whole growing up, I had no idea some Fleetwood Mac songs were Fleetwood Mac songs.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know Dreams was Fleetwood Mac.
When I first met my husband, I remember I was saying, do you like Fleetwood Mac? He was like, no, not really. I was like, how can you not? And then I played this song. He was like, oh, I didn't realise that was Fleetwood Mac. Then I played this song. He was like, oh, I didn't realise that was Fleetwood Mac.
That's what makes them so special, isn't it? Because they've got so many inputs, and it creates such a varied sound. I feel like that's very similar to us.
Recognisable, it's
recognisable as well. Yeah,
that's true. You get it's the brand is the brand, but you get all these different avenues and different places to explore because of the different writers, really. So it sounds like you're in one of those. I mean, bands all go through these different moments, as we know, for the history of bands. But you're in that hot spot of like everybody kind of really firing creatively, and sort of the harmony is good between everybody, and it's sort of respectful, and in that happy band place, which is a great place to be, especially if you're getting a bit of a meteoric rise at the same time. That's the gold dust, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good formula. I feel like we're doing well. I feel like we've got a really solid fan base.
Yeah.
That are really loyal and just wonderful. And
our Bravians,
yeah, and they kind of follow us around, don't they? And
Is that the name, Bravians?
Bravians, it's our little.
That's what we call our fans, Bravians.
Our cult.
And we genuinely love what we do as well. Like, it's like, although some of the songs are really dark and like quite deep, when we're on stage, we genuinely kind of go to those places. And
every time
we give, but we also have so much fun together. Like, we often get that people afterwards, especially if they've not seen us before, they'll go, "You look like you're having such a good time, and it's really nice to see." And I'm like, why would you not? Like, to me, that's like really surprising.
Standard thing.
If you're a band and you're making music and you're doing original music, you should be enjoying it, right?
Should be. I think there has been a propensity to sort of like, I think sometimes pre-COVID actually, and then years leading up, I think people would make like throwing shapes and making moves and making statements, which is cool. But like, if you're a band like yours, when everybody can really play and sing, there was like a joy of like, we can all play and sing, and we're enjoying it because it's that good, and therefore we're having a good time. And I think that's very attractive to an audience, that, you know, to see that level of joy and wonder, you know, it's great.
We celebrate each other, we really do.
Chloe and I stand back a lot and listen and watch the band, just most of the time in complete awe.
And we're always bigging each other up, aren't we?
Like, we'll stand back if Ed's doing a solo or something and the band are really going for it, and we'll just be stood at the side.
Like, this is our band. Wow.
And I come back on, I'm like, I can't believe I'm in this band. You guys are shit hot players. And I'm like, I can't, you know, it's a joy. It's an absolute, and we're 5 years in this lineup. We're like, we'd started even before then. We're 5 years in now, going into our 6th year. And I still feel the same. I still feel like that.
It's one of my favourite things ever to do is to sing with this woman. It's honestly, like, it feels like magic when I sing with her.
Well, it sounds like that. I mean, you do a lot of, it seems like the close harmonies. I mean, it's difficult to do that, and it's also difficult to be in a band where, because my band, the Gravity Drive, are a harmony-led band, and it relies upon the harmony singer to the melody really kind of not getting in the way, but actually accentuating the melody.
Blending.
And blending. So when I was listening to you last night, you hear two voices, but it comes across as like one voice. You know, it's like a beast that was working together as a kind of two parts, but operating as one thing, which is impressive, I have to say. Well done.
Donna kind of says it's like we've got 3 singers in the band.
Yeah.
We've got me, Lindsey, and the voice that we create together.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. So do you, when you write harmonies, is that a kind of do you plan them out together, or are you, whoever's harmonizing, do you respond in your own way to the melody?
Yeah, I think it just naturally slips in, doesn't it? Unless that one of us has written the song, or most of the top line, and they've got a specific thing that they hear in their head. Like Fairy Tale, you had specific harmonies for that. And Secrets, you had some like chromatic sort of stuff. But other than that, we tend to just naturally harmonize and go, oh yeah, that's nice. And we'll play to our strengths vocally, but I feel like we've, like before, back in the day, because we've been singing together 10 plus years.
Okay.
It was the low one, I was the high one.
Okay.
We've taken our places.
You've grown that relationship as singers for a good time, to the point where you just can respond instinctively to it.
But now we can, you know, Lindsey can, your range is crazy and my range is crazy. So like, I can go and do the lower stuff. I can sing a bit chestier now because I've built my strength up and she's given me the courage to do that. Sure. And Lindsey can do those top harmonies if I've written something that's in a higher key, because I usually tend to do that.
Yeah, you usually do.
And I go, you can do that. You can do it. I can't. Yeah, you can. And then she does. So
you forced me into it.
Yeah, brilliant. And so tell me about like lyrical influences, or like, you know, where are you coming from as people that this as a songwriters, we know that there's the melody musical side, and then there's the kind of thought side, the lyrical side, the kind of you know, concept side. So where are you coming from individually? Like, who inspires you lyrically, or what are you trying to uncover, do you think?
You've been doing it longer than me.
For me, lyrically, again, it just kind of comes out. So I'm quite an open person with my feelings anyway.
Yeah.
And I find that it's quite therapeutic to just say what I'm feeling in that moment, and then I often feel better for it.
Yeah.
But I'm often inspired by the people that I love around me.
Yeah.
So if someone I love is going through a tough time, for me, I always want to fix it. I'm a fixer. I always want to make sure that the people I love are happy or bettering themselves.
Yeah.
And if they can't see that yet, I basically get my emotions out in a song. So I've done. I tend to write a lot about like that. I would say
all I can think about off the album is
basically that. Yeah.
Yes.
So like I tell this story on stage. So all I can think about, one of the songs featured, is it starts acoustically. Lindsey had just come out of a breakup. She was going through a rubbish time, and as I say, I'm open about my feelings and I talk about it. Lindsey's very closed off. She doesn't like to talk. She's like, you can hug me, I'll have a cry, but I'll talk when I'm ready. You've got to give her a lot of space and safety for her to open up. So I'd gone round to her home a few days after the breakup. I was like, I knew she wasn't going to be ready. Gave her a big hug. She cried her eyes out. Gave her a slab of cake, because obviously that's what a good friend does. And then as I drove away, I wrote a song about her misery, because that's what a really good friend does.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm happy about that, Lindsey.
But it's just, it inspired me. I didn't go, oh, I'm going to write a song about a misery just because I've intended to do that. It just,
You responded.
Yeah, the first line was, you can hold me when I cry, but I don't want to talk about it.
Nice.
And it's
come from a very real,
where it started. And
real
yeah,
place.
so it's a lot of the songs are kind of genuine feeling, but usually about the people I love, but then also about times that I've struggled with too.
And you're very poetic with it too. You write very poetic lyrics.
Quite inspired by Carole King. I love Carole King.
Yeah, great.
She was a big influence when I was younger, and Annie Lennox of Eurythmics. I listened to that a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you lyrically? Where are you coming from lyrically?
So different.
I don't know, because you've been, it just pours out of you. I'm always in awe of how Chloe writes, because it's just so natural to you. I actually find it a bit more tricky, because I didn't really start songwriting until we started the band, which was
so I started about 15, 14,
you were about
15,
you were a teenager. Well, you were writing before that. You've been writing your whole life.
Yeah, rubbish songs when I was 10.
But it was still original stuff. It's poetry, right?
Yeah, you did come quite late, but your songs are some of the most incredible songs I've ever heard. So
I think I honestly, because I came to it late, I have really no idea what I'm doing.
Okay.
I don't really feel like I channel any one in particular, like for an influence, like on this that you would know. Things just kind of come out of me naturally, and if it works, great. I think I write quite one way or the other. I'm either very poetic, and it reads like poetry, like fairy tale. There's a lot of things in there that you wouldn't say in a sentence. It wouldn't make a lot of sense. But a lot of music doesn't really make a lot of sense if you really break it down.
Doesn't have to make sense, does it?
No. But it works poetically, and then also I can write really kind of hooky, catchy stuff, which is very straightforward, like Heart Attack, or some like stuff like that. So it really depends on my mood, and sometimes it will just flow. Sometimes I'll find it really difficult. So it just depends. But I think my biggest lyrical songwriting influence is Chloe.
Okay, that's lush.
That's it.
That's
the easy answer.
So cute.
Because I am completely in awe of how you do it. And I don't know anybody else who writes like you. I was in the car yesterday. Sorry, this is long, but I was in the car yesterday. I don't tend to listen to our music too much. I find it. I pick holes in things, and I don't want to do that. I want to listen to it.
Quite a perfectionist.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I wish I'd done that, or about myself generally. But I was listening to the radio, and something reminded me of a song that we'd written, and I listened to it, and I was like, that's really good. Like the production is second to none. And then I listened to Sink or Swim, which is what Chloe wrote. That song, what Chloe wrote. And I'm completely dumbstruck that I get to be in a band that can create something like that. And I'm so grateful that I'm part of that process. And I really didn't write much of that song at all. That was your baby, that one, Sink or Swim. I wasn't even there in the first rehearsal when you did it. I kind of came later. I think I was away. And it just blows my mind.
But do you know, this is going to be really gushy now. We're gushing about
We're gushing. I'm sorry.
We love each other so much.
Great. I love the gush.
But do you know what's What's funny is you say that one's epic and you weren't really involved in the when being there on that rehearsal or writing session. I actually channeled the way that you write in that song.
What, really?
Because, as I say, usually I write from feelings, and I usually write from a story-based thing.
Yeah.
Whereas that song, Sink or Swim, so that was a classic example of Billy started writing something. He was doing a riff, and to me it sounded like water. So it starts really beautiful, melodic. We'll have to send you the album. You can have a listen.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
And yeah, it sounded like water to me, and I was like, oh, it sounds like water. And I'd had a bit of a chorus, and I was like, oh, we should do like every verse is water. And then I asked everybody, when I say water to you, when you listen to Billy's bass line here, what scene of water do you visualize? So I just asked everyone in the room, what scene of water do you visualize? And I think I even sent it to you, and I said, what do you visualize here? And everyone said something different. So one of us said, like a murky puddle. One of us said heavy rain. Another one said seeing a reflection in a clear lake or something like that. And that's what built the verses. There's no story to it. There's no no feeling or story, just visual, really. And you are very much like that. Like there'll be a riff that Ed might do, and you'll go, oh, that's sexy.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a story, or like something that's, like, oh, what's your name again?
What's your name again?
And something sexy. And so you tend to write in that sense, like that sounds like this. I'm going to write something that sounds like this.
Yeah.
So actually,
that's great. So you've got like two kind of. I mean, that's a really great way to talk about writing a song. Actually, just the idea of thinking, what does this feel like? What does this sound like? And reacting to the music as a musician yourself, really, as a thinker. That's lots of songwriters listen to this from all different. What's the word I'm looking for? Abilities or experience, and I think that's a really good way to think about how to write a song, which is different. What does this feel like? And then that inspires the lyrics, right?
Yeah, because the What's Your Name Again track, I don't know if you'd heard the first album.
I've heard bits of it, yeah, which is great. I don't think I've ever heard that song, but tell me.
It's the slide guitar song, which is I love that.
Yeah.
It just sounded sexy and dirty and a bit cheeky.
Yeah.
Just sounded what's the riff? No, that's Stand Up.
Oh, I've got the new one in my head.
Well, we'll put it on this podcast so we can listen.
Yeah, okay.
So tell me about so you had that response to the feeling of the slide guitar, which is where the song came from.
And that was in like second lockdown or something. I remember sitting at my desk and hearing it, just heard it first time, and I was like, it just came straight out. Yeah. All of the verses, everything. And I was like, this is really cheeky, sassy, a bit naughty, one night stand vibes, not coming from experience.
Yeah.
No.
That's the thing. We say that on stage. A lot of our songs come from experiences, but not this one.
Yeah. Awesome. And so in terms of so my dog has just decided to come in the room and
I love dogs.
Tallulah, come here.
Tallulah.
She's a bit of a princess, which is what Tallulah. Let me just get her out the room.
I love it. Vintage.
I'm really enjoying the colour of the wall.
I like the reflection of the vintage.
Sorry about that.
We're just admiring your bedroom.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like a dark blue. It's my favourite colour. So
I'm just about to paint mine dark blue. So
it's a good choice because you can sort of find yourself feeling like you're at sea or floating in the sky. Very meditative. Yeah. I advise it as a colour. So what advice would you give songwriters? I mean, you've already given great insights into how you both write, but Chloe, you've been doing it for ages. Josephine, this is a new thing, but what kind of, if you could give one piece of advice to songwriters that are emerging, new writers that are 13 listening to Brave Rival, what advice would you give them as songwriters?
I think because we write so differently, we'd probably give different advice.
Yeah.
First of all, I would say if you are like a top line writer and you don't necessarily play an instrument, find your people, find the right person to write with.
Yeah.
I think I was lucky at 15 that I met a guitarist that we both, if I sang something, he played exactly the right thing that I heard in my head, but I couldn't explain.
Fantastic.
So finding the right people to give you space to create and to kind of be on the same page as you. And that's, I think I was just lucky at that. But don't force it with somebody if it's not connecting. Just like a relationship, a friendship, or a romantic partner. Yeah. don't force it because it just won't work.
Yeah.
So that's the same with a songwriting partner, I would say. Finding the right partner to do it with.
Yeah.
If you need to find somebody else to do it with. But if you are a solo person, you play guitar and sing, just stop and don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Just like take in what is going on around you, and like not everything has to be perfect or perfectly produced. Sometimes the most authentic, just how you're feeling, and don't be afraid to put your subconscious mind into stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think
Great
that's
advice.
a lot what you would do, really.
Yeah, I would say maybe give it time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult. I don't know. It's difficult for me because I feel like I don't really know what I'm talking about because I've really done it.
You're a brilliant songwriter.
I don't know the advice. I can only say how I do it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's correct. I don't think there is a correct way.
There's no correct way. There's no correct way.
There's no. That's the main piece of advice I'd say. There is no correct way to do it. You're not doing anything right and you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
You're just doing it. And that's the main thing. If you're enjoying doing it and getting some of your stuff out onto paper or out into a song, then that's great. And just enjoy the process and try not to get too frustrated if things aren't gelling, because just give it a little bit of time. You can get stuck on a certain thing. And it's great to be working in a team, because sometimes Chloe and I fill in the blanks that we're like, oh,
it's like
this verse is not working.
Crossword, isn't it?
Like a little crossword, you say, yeah. So that's great. If you're a solo person, and you have all these wonderful ideas and you want to get them out, just give it time and trust the process, and just kind of go with the flow. If something is completely flowing out, write it down, go with it, and tweak it as you go along, and come back if you're like, okay, I'm going to come back to it a bit later, come back to it in a month. Or if you think that's it, nailed it, that's brilliant, I've done that, I've written a song in 5 minutes and I've gone nailed it, haven't come back to it, haven't changed anything.
And it's okay if it's not going somewhere, if you've just got a verse or it's a really great verse and you're loving it, but every time you try a chorus it's just not quite working. We did that with one of our tracks and we put it down.
I think 3 times we tried
3 times and we were like, well, it's just not going to work, which is such a shame because this verse section's really good. And then eventually we found the right thing, but we had to put it down.
I totally do that. I had a song called Cherry Ripe, which is like one of my fan base's favorite songs, and I had the verses for 4 years and just was like, these are chords, but like I can't get into it. I don't know why it's not happening. And then one day I was waiting for my kid to get ready and just picked up the guitar and just it came out all fully formed melody and lyrics in 5 seconds. It was like, okay,
wow,
there you are. But it was that 5-year process of waiting, keep on coming back to it. But then it just happened instantly. So don't give up on the ones that you know have got something.
Because it is depressing, like kind of almost shelving a song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's not supposed to happen at that point, and that's okay. As I say, I describe it as like people in your life. Some people you're supposed to have in your life, some people you're not. Some people are supposed to come in at a certain time, just like a song would. It's that's supposed to be, that moment of looking at your child.
Yeah.
You may not have been able to do that if you didn't have your child around.
No, absolutely.
It'd been something tiny that triggered it.
So natural, so naturally done that day.
Yeah.
I would also say as well, just to end what I was saying, is some people can be really perfectionist. I've met a few people. There was a friend of mine who played guitar. He just did it for fun. It wasn't for anything in particular. Just played and wrote. But he would get so frustrated because he would never finish it. Like it would never be finished because he couldn't. He was such a perfectionist. He couldn't then end it. And I think that's really true for a lot of creatives. That you've got to know where the line is and when to stop and when you're happy.
Yeah.
If you feel happy with something and you're like, actually, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Try and take that feeling in rather than then coming back and going, actually, I probably could change that. I could do that, or this could be better. Because every single thing that's creative could be different or better.
Yeah, you're right.
So it also could be brilliant as it is.
You're really right.
Don't overthink it too much.
I felt like I was always having to bring us back to that during our writing sessions for this album, because our first album was during the pandemic. We were sending ideas like from afar, basically, not being able to meet up. So it had to be kind of quite a slow process anyway. Whereas this album, we were actually in the studio going, let's work on this together. And it got to the point where like, oh yeah, but we could have this here, and oh, we'd have to have keys on the tracks for this to work, but we don't have keys in the band. Should we get keys for the live shows? And oh, we could have strings here, and oh, we can have loads of different layers of vocals to make this bit sound great. Oh, but it sounds empty without those. But if we can't do that live,
Right.
so I was like, we need to not write for the production like version. We need to write just for the sake of writing. Like, let's not overthink it during the writing process.
Yes.
By all means, you can do that later when you're recording and the producer, but the actual writing session, it's remembering to actually just be present and with the song and doing what's best for the song. Serve the song, not the production. And for the production, if you want to add all bloody bells and whistles, whatever the term is,
that's true. That's correct.
Bells and whistles.
Then great. If you feel like that, so it can be the best version of it on a record, then great. But the writing process, be authentic to it. I've really like that was. I think that's important.
It's great advice, because I can hear that sometimes in bigger bands that are, let's say they're stadium bands, and you kind of hear the new recording, like you're writing for your fan base live. It's the same thing again, which will be great live, but almost now you're writing to like fulfill a situation rather than actually fulfill your heart. And you can hear that sometimes, and it gets a bit laborious. And serving the song, the idea, so I'm a bit off with the fairies myself, and I think that songs, my relationship with songwriting is like, I know I'm writing it, but there's something else going on, which is, if I sit down to write a song, it's like, okay, it's fine. But if I tune into something else, which happens to me, it's like there's a kind of communion with something from somewhere else, which is way more exciting, and the songs are better. Do you have a relationship with like your idea of the muse, or an idea of where it comes from? Do you think you're doing it all, or do you think you're connecting to something else and there's a communion? Any thoughts on that from both of you?
You go first.
Oh no, you go first. Let's go together.
So what was it like? What? Sorry, reword it. So what?
Do you believe in the concept of the muse, or the creative, like a kind of creative field where songs come from? Do you have a like relationship with the kind of, because when a song's, you said that phrase, serve the song, and it's almost like, well, the song is its own entity. So is that something which comes from within you, or is it something which comes from without, or is it a union? What do you feel about the creative forces? Do you have any thoughts about that, where it comes from and your relationship with it?
I think it changes every time for me. So like my muse would be the people around me, and that could be you, it could be me, it could be like one of our Bravians, sometimes like I was inspired by it's really people.
Okay.
I just think people, I love people. I like finding out about people's stories. Like if I'm at the checkout at a supermarket, I will talk to the person next to me, and usually I'll find out their life story, because I can't help it.
Yeah, and then she goes, "They've told me their life story. I don't know why." Because you asked them. You asked them to.
So I think it's just people. I like people. So people are my muse, I guess, which I know is really broad, but
no, great. That's a great answer.
It's a great answer.
Yeah,
I think mine's a little bit more internal.
Yeah,
I think you write a lot subconsciously.
I think I do write subconsciously. Yeah. I think mine comes from within a lot. Sometimes I write stuff that's just basically poetry.
Yeah.
And I don't really know where that comes from, which is a bit like I don't feel like I connect with something, like you say, a muse, or connect with a force there to write those things. I feel like it's a story. Like, going back to What's Your Name Again, it's just a made up story that I found amusing and I thought people would find funny. I like
amusing.
Very good.
On it. She's on it.
You were thinking it, weren't
no, you got there before me, but it was like
yeah, but that was one particular story though. Like you've written some really like
that's an example.
Songs, like
that's an example of just making up a story. But I like to entertain. I like to make people laugh. That's on stage. That's almost one of my favorite parts of the show. I like it when we're funny. I like it when you say something stupid and people laugh, or if it's intentional, even if it's not, and people laugh, they connect with you in that way. I really enjoy that. So making music to reflect that for me is quite good. One of the first songs I ever wrote was a funny song about be careful what you wish for, and it was just a load of gibberish, but it was fun, and it was funny, and it was upbeat.
What's really great to hear here is that it sounds like you are putting your personality and who you are into your voice as a writer.
Yeah,
yours is very much from deep within. Mine is outward. I think.
Yeah, mine's internal. It can either be fun, jovial, kind of nonsense really, but it's a fun song and people enjoy that side of it because it's light and airy. Also, I'm tending to write a little bit more about personal experiences now, so I go quite within.
Yeah.
And it comes out subconsciously. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm writing, and then I'm like, oh, that relates to this thing.
Yeah,
or like, you will pick out
when you've written some songs, and they're like the recent songs on this new album that are quite dark, like struggling with mental health, and you'll go, it's just loads of poetry. It doesn't really mean anything. And I was like, and then I'll read the lyrics. I'll be like, Lindsey, this is your inner thing. You just put it out into a song.
Yeah.
It definitely means something. Like perhaps it's time for you to talk. Let's talk.
But
it's really good because it has helped you, and I think you it's been really therapeutic.
Luckily, they've turned into good songs.
Yeah,
I think
she even wrote a song in her sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, Paul McCartney did.
She did Paul McCartney.
That's a cool one. It's so cool, the process of writing sometimes, because it can just come. This Blame the Voices on the new album was like
which again, clearly from deep within you.
Yeah,
you know?
It was. There was a concert going on in a dream or something like that, and I could hear the song, and then I woke up. Like when you half wake up, you can still hear it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you leave it that split second, and it's gone.
Yeah.
But luckily this time I was like, where's my phone?
Yeah.
Get my phone up, record. The voice recording is hilarious.
I love it.
And then it's blossomed into this Zeppelin, James Bond inspired huge strings songs. Really, really cool. I can't believe that's happened. It's amazing.
I had that once of a song of ours called Kaleidoscope. It was on my birthday. I was just feeling feverish, and then woke up with this voice recording of this 2 songs actually that were blaring on, and then the same thing that became one of our biggest songs of that wasn't me, but just lucky the voice memo app is great.
Really
it's just like
love that.
That's another piece of songwriting advice. I think don't leave it if you have an idea. Don't leave it.
And
get it down as soon as you can,
even if it's gibberish. I've got so much gibberish on my phone.
Yeah, Donna said the other day that she was like, I was doing this thing the other day and I didn't have time to do it, and it's gone.
It does go. If you don't catch it, it does go for some reason.
Could be the best thing I've ever
written.
Yeah.
Like a fairy, exactly. So this new album of yours coming out soon, Fight or Flight, it's coming out in August, so you're on that promotional campaign. And how do you tell us about for me, those going back to those classic rock sounds, sometimes an album, take Zeppelin, for example, the progression from Zeppelin 3 to 4 is from acoustic to heavier rock again, is you can feel it. So is there a kind of transition and a kind of departure or a deepening of sound, or what's the difference between album 1 or 2 for you guys as the writers?
Deepening, I think, is the word I would use. I wouldn't say it's necessarily different. I think our sound is our sound, but it's deeper. It's ever so slightly probably more rocky. There's a little bit more prog in there, which
I'd say it's rocky. I'd say it's rocky.
It's more rocky, but deeper. I think on a deeper level for sure.
But when you've got it's like you were saying earlier, with Fleetwood Mac, some of their songs can be quite folky, some can be poppy, some can be quite anthemic rocky. But it's Fleetwood Mac. They have a sound, but across the genres. Yes. So our sound hasn't changed, but I feel like our genre is changing.
Yeah.
Well, you're becoming the genre by the sounds of it.
Yeah, we're making our own genre. Yeah, it's just happening. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So, but the last album definitely more blues, but I think this one's we've got some interesting time signatures in some of our songs, which is cool. Yeah. In Sink or Swim, there's a bar of 11 in the middle of the chorus, which is quite cool.
The whole chorus is in 11, I think.
Oh, was it? Oh, I have no idea. But I wrote it and I sang it, and they were like, "Where's the one? I don't understand." I was like, "Well, this is how I hear it." And I don't really know, and they have to just figure it out.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
It's an 11. It's crazy.
Wow.
Who writes like that? That's the other thing about her writing. It's not mainstream at all.
Like, where's the one?
Every time you write,
I should get it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's exactly what I need to get you for your Christmas. Where is the one? Because you're the only one who knows.
So so there's interesting kind of proggy elements, but not to say none of it's really intentional. But deeper. This album has definitely got a thread of mental health without necessarily. We didn't go, we are going to write an album about that. It just
because that's not how it works. But it's good that you're able to express that stuff. If whatever's going on for you, that the fact that that comes out in your work is kind of diary entries, isn't it? It's where you're at, and I think that's what fans like, you know, to be invited into your world.
Yeah, and there's like shorter, punchier songs on this album as well. I found like our last album had a lot of longer songs, whereas this unintentionally they've just been. I think because we've now done an album, we've worked with a producer in, you know, cutting songs down, and so now I think we've written with those sorts of things in mind, like. Because it is rubbish writing a verse, and then when you work with a producer, they cut one of the verses. I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, let's just write 2 verses because I don't want to have to cut it later. So things like that. So
some of them work like that.
Some of them do, yeah. But it's like, well, we don't need a song here. We don't need a verse here. It doesn't serve the song.
Yeah.
So then the song ends up being this like really great, catchy, hooky, punchy number.
Who's your producer that you've been working with?
Say that again.
Who's your producer that you've been working with on the album?
We've got Terence Shepherd. Okay. He produced both albums, and he's worked with Greg.
Oh God, I hate this question. There's two big producers that he kind of trained under a few years ago, and he's out on his own doing it. And he did our Life's Machine 2 years ago
when he was kind of first starting out as a producer in his own right.
Great.
He's done a lot. Then he's also a player as well. He plays bass and guitar. And
player. Yeah, he's great.
It was a winning then, and then so we've used them again because everyone said the production on the album. It was up for best album in the Blues Award.
It's also cool that you work with the producer again, you know, because I've worked with the same producer 2 or 3 times, and actually that relationship, as you've got with writers and band members, that relationship also is quite an important relationship. And so to kind of work again, I think deepening the relationship and what because they'll get to know where your territory is and they're adding to it and finding their own way. So quite often I think it's quite nice when bands work with the same producer and deepen.
And he really, really cared about it as well, which is really lovely.
He did a lot. He's very hardworking.
Yeah,
put in a lot of hours.
Yeah,
and he's just a really good character as well. So it worked.
Brilliant. So tell us, like, what's the plan? What's the mission or manifesto of Brave Rival? What's the kind of what's the
world domination?
Good.
It sounds really like formal, really. Like, obviously, I want to keep making great music. Ultimately, that's the main thing. Is I want us to stay true to making great music and not get lost in. We've got to do this to achieve this. But I know there will be an element of that. But yeah, make great music. But really, for me, is doing this full time. So at the moment, you know, last year we did 86 gigs. This year we got 92.
Yeah.
And, so far, there's more coming in. But we all work as well alongside it. So it would just be really nice to, as I say, it's not necessarily about making loads of money. It's not. Don't want to be rich and famous. It's more making enough money so that we can do this full time. It like the dream for me would to be able to write and rehearse and record in the daytimes.
Yeah.
Because no one else has got commitments of other stuff.
Yeah.
Actually do that in the daytimes when we've got like energy and just lots of time to do that. And then gig and do like just set tours and bigger venues and just share our music further. Really, that's my goal.
It's a really tough time for music, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's an odd time because there's so much opportunity to share your music.
Yeah.
But there is so much of it.
It's double-edged sword, really.
It's a bit double-edged. It's not like it used to be. No. Like we've kind of got this classic rock vibe going on, but the music industry has changed so much since back then. It's just not. It's not the same anymore. You don't make music and go to a label and then you put out records and people buy the record. It's just not the same anymore. So it's
social media, it's marketing.
It's so much that goes on now. It's so much harder, I think, for artists. It's really strange that you can put your music out on free platforms, but the amount of people that are going to hear it is less.
Yeah.
So
it's a strange thing, isn't it? I don't think people quite realize because if you're on stage enjoying, loving what you're doing, people are never going to do that. They're going to assume that you're just having a great time and you are. But they're kind of, even behind the sort of success, I mean, we got loads of playing Radio 2 and 6 music and everything, but it was like, behind that is me at 3 a.m. knocking out emails to producers without any help. So it's like behind all the kind of things you make happen is like a lot of work that you guys are doing.
Loads of work.
Yeah.
There's no like kind of big break. I feel like that people don't get a big break anymore. I don't know if that's the same with like mainstream, you know.
I like the idea of a big break.
Yeah,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
you've got your big break and now you're famous. You know, it's not like that anymore. You've got so many subgenres of music that you can be kind of famous in, you know. Like I'd speak to a friend of I'll speak to my brother or something and be like, have you heard of Joe Bonamassa? He'd be like, no. And to me, he's a very famous musician.
Yes.
But it's my genre of music that he's and then there's
same with me. Like, I
there.
didn't know of Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah.
And then you were like, they like sell out stadiums. I'm like,
yeah, they're huge.
I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? It's because there's no, I think there's no like mainstream place where you're told about Greta Van Fleet or anyone else. It's like it's just the internet has cut everything open, so the subgenres exist, and if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. But if you do know about it, then you're onto it. It's a strange time. It is a strange.
I like that. There's beauty in that too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
Not just like everybody's listening to the same thing.
Yeah.
If it's on the radio, like Radio 1, I get everyone used to listen to Radio 1 because there wasn't a lot else. When I was growing up anyway, and it was like whatever was on the chart, that's what you were listening to.
Yeah.
You know, because you couldn't go just pop onto YouTube and find something or Spotify or whatever. So you couldn't do that then. So and it's changed so much that you can do that, but things get so lost within that you can't find stuff or you don't hear about stuff. But if you're in that scene, you know about it, which is great. And I'd like to be in our scene, in like the rock, slightly bluesy, rocky scene. I'd like to get to a point where we were very well known in that particular scene. Like I wouldn't care if nobody heard about us, that people listen to Radio 1 Pop. They're not going to know who we are.
Yeah,
we're not aiming for that.
Yeah,
it would
never going to happen.
It would be lovely to do like really decent sized venues so that we can play to a great crowd with great sound, with a great energy in the room that's packed with people, without having to worry like, oh, have we sold enough tickets? And just go there and do the thing that we love. That would be lovely. And we're completely self-managed, and like I'm literally looking at this wall of admin that I have to do.
So it's all done by you, no manager. You do all of it.
No manager, we do it all of it. We have an agent that helps us get gigs, but we literally, and there's as you know, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes.
I take my hat off to you because I've done that role, and I was the only one doing it in my band, and it's it's like, you know, I know every single success you have earned, not only because the music's great, but because you're the one knocking on the door. So like,
and we're very lucky actually, because we all have our little job roles within the band. It's not just one person. I think it's so much harder if you are the driving force and you have players around you, even if you have session players around you, and you are like someone like Els Bailey, let's say. Yeah,
I spoke to her a few weeks ago. She's great.
She's a huge inspiration because she is that person. She is the one that's doing it by herself. She's an absolute bitch of a queen.
In a good way.
In a good way. Like she is top queen bitch. And she has got her shit together and she knows what she's doing and she really works hard.
She's given us invaluable advice.
So much advice.
Great.
How do you divide the roles then?
Pardon?
How do you divide the roles, and what are the roles?
Well, we just play to our strengths, play to our skill sets.
Lucky that we've got a lot of strengths in the band.
Yeah, like I think the cliche of musicians, it's like, you know, that it's rock and roll, like they'll want to party and they sleep in, and whereas with us, I think we're not like rock and roll in the cliche way. Like
no one is anymore. No one's rock and roll anymore.
Like you know, we just spread across our skills really. Like Billy's like great at like project management.
He's brilliant at managing
logistical stuff, and
he's basically floor manager as well.
Yeah, and Lindsey does our website. You know, you do all the design work, like merch and things like that.
Finances.
I'm envious of your teamwork. And
I run all the merch. You know,
that's so great.
Donna does all the DistroKid and Spotify, like the ads, the marketing. We're really lucky that we go across, and like Ed helps organize things. Like he'll make sure our calendar is up to date, like things like that can easily get overlooked, and then we're like, crap, we don't know what's going on. So we all help, but it's getting to the point where it's getting overwhelming a little now. So it would be lovely to have a manager. I think eventually
at some point,
because we can still do those skill sets, but like to be able to have more time to just do writing. Like
Yeah.
writing is shoot. Who knows when we're going to write the next album?
I don't know.
Who
This is
knows?
why it took us so long to 2.5 years to get the
To do
second
next
album
one,
out,
because we
because
have no time.
we gig so much and we work full time, and we have some of us have kids, and it's difficult. But luckily we're all on the same path, we're all heading the same direction, we've got the same goals, and
Teamwork makes a dream work.
that's right.
It does. Well, listen, I'm Sally, who's my wonderful co-partner in this. Who's in the States. Who's the auntie of Billy.
Yes.
Billy. So she turned me onto your music. I've seen your name around, and then she
Big
turned me
fan.
onto it and suggested you guys, and I heard it and was just like, yeah, definitely 100% into that band and what they're about. So I'm a converted Bravian. So
Yay.
as a Bravian, one question I'm going to ask you to is like promises all is that you keep going and you keep making new albums, because what you've got is very rare, and so yeah, I think you just got to keep doing it, right?
Hell yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's something that we have to do. It's a calling.
You also got the balance right in terms of you guys talking about the respect for each other, the harmony, the co-work, the splitting down of the jobs, the kind of support of each other. Like, it's quite a rare thing actually. So yeah. So I'm gonna well done, you two. It's really interesting for me as like a songwriter myself, talking to other songwriters, and some people who I know their work, some people I don't know. It's getting introduced to it, and it's really good to kind of hear that this is happening for you guys. So one last question before we go, and I ask everybody this, and it's going to change from day to day, but I'm going to put you on the spot. I need to know. You could have written any song from the past. What song do you wish you'd have written?
Oh, good question.
Oh, nice.
Oh God,
I don't know, because I'm looking at her because I've got a big picture of Aretha on my wall.
she's right there.
Even though she didn't write the song, actually Carole King did. I'm going to say Natural Woman.
Great.
Yeah.
It's just.
I think Jerry Goffin wrote that. You know.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote with their kid Louise Goffin, and I think maybe Jerry Goffin wrote that for Carole King, where she was involved. But good song, great choice. Natural Woman, great choice.
Just amazing chorus.
Yeah.
Heartfelt verses. Soulful. Love it. Great song.
Okay.
I hate this.
Like all of them.
It will change again, but here and today, what song do you wish you'd written?
Come on, quick thought.
What song do I wish I'd written?
I don't
I'm
know.
surprised you haven't said a Karen Carpenter song.
I was more thinking Bonnie Raitt, actually.
Oh yeah. Okay. That one. Oh, doggy.
Oh, good distraction. Excellent. Well done.
Yeah, but we still need the answer.
Oh no.
Come
on. God, there's too many.
Go.
My brain has instantly gone to Bonnie Raitt.
Yep.
An Angel from Montgomery, but I know she didn't write that.
Okay, that's fine.
Prime?
Yeah, probably.
John wrote that. I think that's probably one of the most beautiful. I heard it the other day, and I was just thinking, what a beautiful, beautiful song.
There's so many.
There's just that question is so broad.
Yeah, now I'm thinking of other songs, but it's just because I saw it.
It's a harsh question, but what I like about it is that something, as you know, like writing songs, in your instinct and answer straight away is saying something about you. It might not be the full answer, but like something's coming out, which is cool.
Well, they're big influences on both of us, so that's obviously why we said that.
Yeah, right. So for people that don't know about Brave Rival, they need to go and listen to them. But where can people find you? And tell us, just do the kind of pitch of where to find you.
BraveRival.com has got everything on there. You can find out all of our dates. You can find our merch shop. You can contact us. You can find all of our social links. And we've got a big album launch on the 12th of September at Dingwalls in Camden. And we would love to have some new Bravians coming on to that. Yeah. And our new album, Sink or Swim. Sorry, not Sink or Swim. New album, Fight or Flight. Because we were just talking about Sink or Swim. Our new album, Fight or Flight, is available to pre-order now.
Brilliant. And when does it come out?
It comes out the August 16th.
Is that like tarot cards and things on the left?
Tarot cards.
All the songs have
artwork is beautiful, even if you don't want to listen to this.
That's amazing. Who did the artwork?
Alice Armstrong.
Beautiful.
Of Magic Cabin
Studios, but I don't think she's going by that anymore.
That's a beautiful piece of work. Amazing.
Yeah. So even if you don't want to listen to the music, just get the artwork because it's amazing.
Really cool.
Donna's missing from this, so she hasn't signed it.
Oh,
but
it's really great.
So BraveRival.com, it's got everything there. like videos, everything. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. That was an amazing conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
This has
lovely
probably
to
been
chat
my
to you.
favourite interview that we've ever had.
Yeah.
We've
Yay.
never had
Thank
we've
you.
never had one about songwriting before. It's
Yeah,
really
really
nice.
nice.
I answered things I was like, oh, didn't I felt like that. Nice.
That's
And
great.
can you remind me of those songs that you mentioned of yours, the Kaleidoscope, and there was another one that you said as well.
It's called Cherry Ripe.
Cherry Ripe.
You might
And
like
what would
a
you?
track called
Here's
Wake
a question for you.
Okay. Christ
What
it.
would you say?
Yeah.
Was this if you could only choose one song for us to listen to of yours
Okay.
that you feel represents you, or that you feel that you think we would like based on our conversation today?
Yeah,
What
good
would you
question.
like us to
So I
listen
think any kind of Brave Rival band members or Bravians might like two songs because they're in more of the pushing towards the classic rock idiom, or they came from that. Is one called The Wild Light and one called Wake of the Dawn, which is a bit more us flexing our kind of Zeppelin area muscle. So
And what's the band?
our band is called The Gravity Drive.